سبحان الله يا الله الله أكبر
Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to the World of Islam, coming to you from Richmond, Virginia, here in the United States of America. From Denmark to China, from Australia to Argentina, from the USA to the UK, there are more than 1.5 billion Muslims in the world today. The religion of Islam is the fastest growing religion on earth, but unfortunately, the true nature of Islam is often misrepresented and misunderstood. So I invite you to join us as we travel throughout the world of Islam and give you the opportunity to know the truth about Islam and the truth about Muslims. You are now entering the world of Islam. Assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to the World of Islam, coming to you from Richmond, Virginia, here in the United States of America. And I'm here in the Islamic Society of Greater Richmond, and I'm joined by one of my brothers in Islam, Brother David or Daoud Hinton. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
And thank you for agreeing to sit with us and spend some time and contribute your story to this documentary about Muslims here in the United States of America. But Brother Daoud, as we begin, I'd like you just to tell us a bit about yourself and your background and how you came to Islam.
Well, like most European American Muslims, most of us, a good majority of us, started out being raised in Christian families. Mm-hmm. My family background, my mother's side was Catholic, my father's side was Methodist. And growing up in that household, I was baptized as an Episcopal as a young child because when my mother and father got divorced, the Catholic Church excommunicated her, so she had to find another faith to follow.
So what does that mean, to be excommunicated? Is that like being kicked out of the religion? Or?
Basically, yes, that is being kicked completely out of the Catholic Church. They do not believe in divorce at all. And so she found an Episcopal church, which is very similar. A lot of the ritual is very similar to Catholicism. So she became baptized in that faith and had me baptized as well, just because she was going to take me along anyway. Well, we never really attended church that often, so I never had a chance to really understand it that much. And then a few years later, I started attending a Baptist church that had after-school programs, and they enrolled me in that just to kind of keep me off the streets because...
But tell me about the streets where you grew up. I mean, what was the area and the type of neighborhood which you grew up in?
I grew up in the south side of Richmond, and basically I grew up in what's proverbially known as the hood. It's a pretty rough area. And like I said, my grandmother and my mother, to kind of keep me from just wandering the streets after school, enrolled me in these after-school programs in this Baptist church, which is like 1 block from the house, also 1 block from the school. The school was very close, but a lot can happen between the school and home after school, if you know what I mean. The kids can find all kinds of stuff to get into trouble. So by doing these after-school programs, of course, they would have worship services and have like kind of like lessons in Christianity. And as I'm listening to all this, it's like a puzzle.
Now, when you said you're listening to all of this, how old are you at this time?
At that time, I believe I was like 9 or 10, about 9, starting 9 years old at this particular time. And I'm listening to all these Christian dialogues and Christian teachings. And I'm looking at the puzzle. I got this big puzzle in front of me that needs to be put together. And so I'm starting to put the puzzle together, and some of it fits. And then I realized that some of the pieces that are there in the puzzle are not for this puzzle. They belong to another puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not able to complete the picture.
So now you're 9 years old and you're thinking very deeply about these things.
Right, right. And then by the time I get to be around about 12 years old, we had moved away from Southside Richmond to a place in Hanover County, which is about 35, 40, well, actually from Southside, about 40 miles west outside in the country a little ways. And since my mother and father being divorced, he was in the Air Force, and he had done 2 tours of duty, combat duty in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And this was the early 70s by now.
Now, I mean, did that have any effect on him? Did he have any kind of, like, what they have, like, post-traumatic stress, after people been in war?
I believe it did affect him in a few ways. He today goes to gunship reunions and sees people that he served with and everything, which is very therapeutic for him. But at this time, in the early 70s, he came back, and even though he's Methodist, when I went down to visit him for a month at a time when he was in the air base, he gave me a book, Eric Van Doniken's Chariots of the Gods. And he said, "Here, read this, see what you think." So I read through it, and I've always had a very, very analytical mind. Mm-hmm. I analyze things, very carefully. And I read the book. Basically, it was a lot of these things kind of looked like it might have made sense at the time. Mm-hmm. Basically, what it boiled down to, according to biblical phrases and everything in the Bible, it shows like they were trying to prove that space travelers were actually God Almighty. That's what people took them for. So I figured, okay, well, all these pieces of the puzzle on this here didn't fit, so maybe this is the missing pieces. So at that point in time, at 12 years old, I kind of became an atheist.
And what does that mean to be an atheist?
It means basically not believing in God Almighty or a higher superior being. And even though I was comfortable with this idea at this age, still something wasn't quite right. I felt something still something was lacking, missing. So this went on for several years, and I reckon we're getting to the point where I'm going to become Muslim at this point. Mm-hmm. I need to go forward a few more years, mm-hmm. to when I was 16 years old.
Right.
I used to play in concert bands and symphonic bands in the high school, mm-hmm. and we have auditions for select bands that play once a year, and you have to audition for them. Well, I met my first wife at one of these auditions when we were 16 years old. Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, afterwards we started dating for a while, and then our families didn't like us, seeing each other, so they split us up. We lived 60 miles apart from each other. Mm-hmm. And after that, 9 years later, I was calling a lot of people up that I hadn't talked to in a long time, old friends, acquaintances, call them and say, "Hey, how you doing? How you been? I'm doing okay." And I stumbled across her phone number, parents' phone number. And I called, and her mother answered, and we talked for about half an hour, mm-hmm. On old times and everything. And I didn't ask for it, but she volunteered to give me her phone number. Mm-hmm. And
even though before she wanted to split you up, now she wanted you to have her phone number.
Right. So things happen for a reason, and we didn't really get into this earlier, but things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a plan. Things happen for a reason. Mm-hmm. So